Atlanta is a bustling city brimming with impeccable taste and design, where Southern charm blends seamlessly with a modern dynamic city. Today we visit 3 diverse spaces: the eclectic Craftsman home of seasoned set decorators, a Maximalist bungalow defined by color, and a historic mansion turned condo building packed with prints. You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. Before today's episode, click the join button below to support all of the storytelling we do on this channel. Our growing community of members help to directly fund more videos so we can capture these extraordinary homes from around the world. So join today to receive early and exclusive access to new Homeworthy videos.
Hi Homeworthy, I'm Amber and welcome to my beautiful home in Atlanta, Georgia. Come on in.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. Be sure to visit our website, homeworthy.com, to discover amazing furniture, art, accessories, and more, all handpicked by our editors to help transform your house into a home. All of the items are inspired by the episodes you see here on Homeworthy. Enjoy!
My name is Amber Guyton and we are in my home in Atlanta, Georgia. I have lived in Atlanta before in 2010 to 2015, and then I moved to Texas and then to California. And during the pandemic, I was working full-time in tech at the time, and everyone basically said you could live anywhere. So I decided to move back to Atlanta. Cheaper cost of living, cheaper housing, obviously. And this house was built in 2020. I closed in February of 2021. It's a brand new construction home, but it's a bungalow. It was built to look like a lot of the smaller bungalows in this historic neighborhood of Adair Park. So I was thrilled to have a little bit of the best of both worlds, to have a bungalow that's brand new and easy to just move in, turnkey. All I had to do was decorate versus moving into something that looks too cookie cutter. It still has the character that the neighborhood has in all of the homes. So I have been in this home about 2.5 years, and I've personalized it with color, texture, pattern, and just my colorful aesthetic that I have as an interior designer. So this is my living room. My house, when you walk in, there is no grand foyer or entryway, but I do have some hooks on the door to hang your jacket, your bag, etc. And then you walk in and you're immediately greeted by the living room. So I have enough seating for just myself and my dog, but ample seating if I have some friends or family over. This is the only TV in my home. I'm not a big TV person. I'll watch TV. A lot of times it's just on for noise, but I love the Samsung frame because you could turn it into art when it's not on, just play some music. It's beautiful. It's flush to the wall, and it takes your attention off of the electronics, and you kind of just are enveloped by everything in the space. So the first thing I did when I moved in the house, as I mentioned, is painting. So because the ceilings, the lofted ceilings in here are kind of high, I just went about 5 feet up all the way around, just so the space wouldn't feel too dark, but also still have enough color. You can see that I added plantation shutters and drapery to the windows. So I still get a lot of good light, but it's a great way to kind of adjust how much light, natural light gets in the space. And then the curtains, I just love putting curtains up, even if they're not functional. They just kind of frame the window and add a little character to the window frame. So my coffee table, I love, it's called the art display coffee table because the surface is glass, so you could fill the bottom with coffee table books or anything that you wish to be seen. I've got a ton of coffee table books filled with interiors and Black artists and all the things. I always have some magazines on top for casual reading, and then this tray is filled with things like sage and fresh flowers, candles, just things to kind of set the mood in my living space. And I like that it's wide enough that if I do have some friends over and we're playing cards, or we have like a charcuterie board and wine, like it's more than enough space for us to fill the surface with. This is my roommate, Ralph. I've had him, I adopted Ralph when he was 6 weeks old, and now he's 15. He'll be 15 in December. So he's my buddy, he's my roommate. It's his house. I just pay the bills. His meal plan and the mortgage, that's my responsibility, but he keeps me company. He's living here rent-free, yes. He's here. He gives comfort and hugs and a lot of love. So he's my bestie. I definitely want my home to feel cozy. I love to just cuddle up on this chase part of my sofa, put my feet up, and I've got a lot of blankets and pillows to help supply some of that comfort. So like my best friend that lives in Dallas, whenever she visits, we're just on this couch, binge watching something and covered with blankets. Even Ralph, this is his usual spot, on a blanket on the couch. So when you walk into my home, there's no like mudroom or place to drop things off, take your shoes off, etc. So one thing that I added was this coat rack. So I hang my purse, my jacket, hat, whatever, and then if I'm walking Ralph, I'll keep his leash and some of his items in here. I also have a huge candle collection. I'm a bit of a candle hoarder, so that's what takes up most of this. And then also in my media cabinet, I've got some storage here. So it's a small space, but I was able to bring in different furniture items and decor that will serve a purpose and be functional, since I lack that entryway that a lot of traditional homes have. So when I purchased the home, the day I closed, the only thing that was colorful in this house, well, outside of this house, was the exterior. The inside was all beige, taupe, brown, not my style. So the first thing I did was add paint and wallpaper to several of the walls. I updated a lot of the lighting. A lot of it was like oil rubbed bronze, and I love brass. I love matte black. So I swapped out a lot of the fixtures and the lighting. And then probably the biggest change that I did was I painted the kitchen cabinets. The kitchen was originally all dark brown wood, and it's a small kitchen, so it already felt a little dark, but I wanted to give it some interest, some excitement, so I painted my cabinets in the island green, and I think it is the perfect pop of color when you look in the house. When you walk in, it immediately grabs your attention. So now that you've seen the living room, let's go a little further into the house and see the dining room and kitchen. So this is my dining room, my dining space, open concept home. So all of these spaces, the living, dining, and kitchen, are connected. Because of that, I really didn't want to do like a long rectangle traditional dining table. I wanted to do something kind of funky and fun. I love this dining table. It's round, it's probably could fill about 8 people around it. Even though it's just me, I have a couple of chairs here, but my favorite thing about this table is probably the base of it. It's just a work of art, and I think that no matter how many times I move, like, this table is definitely going to come with me. I'm just obsessed with it. And so it kind of influences community and fellowship, and there's just something about a round table that just makes you want to gather around. So when I have my friends over, my family, my niece and nephews, this is where we eat, this is where we laugh, play games, etc. And then I added a very large wall mirror here. I think it helps with some of the lack of light. It kind of, anytime you want to make a home feel brighter or add some light to a space, definitely consider a mirror. So this mirror, as I'm walking out the door, I kind of stop and check out my outfit, do a quick fit check, and it's a great addition to the space, and it's like the perfect wall size for such a large mirror. I love it. I did update the lighting throughout. The only light that I probably didn't update in this house was the ceiling fan in the living room. I added this cool, fun Sputnik light here. The light that was here before was a little lower, and it was kind of like a drum chandelier. Wasn't a fan. So I added this new light that just adds a little more character and illuminates the entire space, not just the dining room. The other thing I loved about this home, even though it was new construction, they did take some time to do some built-ins here. So I have a built-in doggy home underneath the stairs, which is a great use of space. However, Ralph does not go in here. So it just houses his toys. And then this built-in bookshelf, I have several of my books here. The rest of my books in my home are primarily in my office and bedroom. But it's a great styled moment where I have some of my books, can display some color, and it just feels good, feels like home. When you have an open concept home, a lot of times it could feel like an endless runway of space, and you don't really know how to create division. And so a quick tip that I would say, you can anchor spaces with rugs. So my living space has like this shag rug moment. It's colorful, and it kind of boxes out like, here is the living space. The dining space has like this faux hide rug under the table. And then the table itself is such a statement piece. It kind of anchors like, okay, this is where the dining space is. So I would say it's easy to create zones in large spaces by putting rugs down, having foundational furniture. And then sometimes, I mean, you can even create like an accent wall or a gallery wall, something that kind of defines like, okay, here's the next space in this collection of spaces. So those are a couple of tips on how to create that separation. I have always been a creative. I've always loved to color and draw and redecorate my room and beg my mom to paint it 10 different times as a child. And then once I went to college, I decided, I also love to write. So I started off as a print journalism major, thought I would be writing for a newspaper, a magazine, and then decided to be an advertising major because I loved marketing, I loved commercials, I loved branding. And so my career started off with that, sold advertising, and then once I got my MBA in 2014, started working in marketing for different companies, primarily in financial services and then in tech. So booming career, if you will, but there was always that underlying inkling of wanting to have a creative outlet. So Blessed Little Bungalow, my company and brand, started as a blog in 2016 when I lived in Texas. I was working in corporate. I bought a house in San Antonio, and it was a bungalow built in 1946 or 1948, and it was completely renovated. And once I closed, I moved in that same day and decorated the entire space in a week. 3-bedroom, 2-bath house, the entire place, and the back deck. So when I had friends and family come visit, they were just like, what? Like, because they were expecting to come and help me unload boxes and unpack. And my mom looked at me and she said, well, Amber, when are you going to do this for real? And that just ignited something in me to say, okay, well, if this isn't going to be my career, because obviously I've worked hard to get to where I am, at least allow it to be a hobby and an opportunity for me to write and share design tips and my love for making things feel beautiful, but while remaining affordable. And so Bungalow was born in 2016. Started as a blog and slowly became a side hustle. And then 5 years later, I decided to go full-time, and now I'm a full-time interior designer, content creator, all the things. So it's been quite a journey, and I feel like I'm just getting started. It's really exciting. Entrepreneurial life is not as fun as I thought it would be. You know, you're your boss, and you realize quickly, like, oh, I'm a bad boss. I need to set boundaries. I need to do better with customer service. I need to outsource things and hire people, and but I'm learning so much about myself, and it's just exciting to be able to use the gifts that I've kind of abandon and see how that brings so much joy to people, whether that's on Instagram or my clients' homes. It's been a really fun ride. So now that you've seen the dining room, let's go into the kitchen. The kitchen was my least favorite space in the house when I bought it because it was so brown. It was just brown and dark and not a place that I wanted to spend time. It also is limited in size, so as you can see, I just have one wall of cabinets. A lot of the appliances take up that space. There's limited surface space for toasters and meal prep and etc. But I do have this huge island, which I'm grateful for. So what I decided to do, first things first, was update the cabinetry. So I painted all of the cabinets and the island green. I swapped out the hardware because before it was just oil rubbed bronze. So these fun hexagon handles, they just brought a little shine and glamour to the space. Growing up in the South, this is something that's kind of nostalgic for me to see hanging on the walls. Like my mom and grandma, they had several breadboards and cutting boards that were more so for utility use, but it was nothing to actually hang things on the wall and then just pull it off when they needed it, when they were preparing dinner or baking pies or whatever. So it's just a nice southern country touch in my city kitchen. I also updated the pendant lights. These pendant lights are kind of nostalgic. They remind me of like Waffle House or a diner. And the ones that were here before were just very small. So I wanted to go with something that made more of a statement. So I love these globes. I love the milk color. And whether they're on or off, they just make a statement in the space. I feel like pendants, especially in an island kitchen, they're just kind of like the earrings to go with the dress. So these are my kitchen earrings. Then when you walk over here, this is probably the last thing I did in this space was add this beautiful wall mural. So it looks like wallpaper, but it is not. Michelle Key, she's an amazing artist. She does a lot of wall murals and outdoor art in the city of Atlanta, and so I brought her in to paint this botanical fusion of all my favorite plants. So we have the monstera, we have some palms and birds of paradise, snake plants. I just wanted to create something here that gave me something to look at while I'm in the kitchen. But also, this was just such a blank space. I had a gallery wall here before, but it just didn't feel like it was doing enough. So this is probably my favorite space in the house, because a kitchen should really feel like the heart of the home, and this is definitely now a space that I would spend time in. Another thing that I wanted to do in this kitchen, because of the lack of storage, was bring in a statement furniture piece. So this cabinet, I kind of made it into like a beverage, cookbook, wine cellar, if you will. And then I also have storage here for some of my seasonal tableware and things that I don't necessarily use that often, more so for entertaining. So a couple of things in here that I love. I know I shared that I love brass. I love all things gold. So champagne flutes with just a little gold foil on them. Very cute, things I like. Ice bucket, more glasses here, stemless. And then when I have summertime fun cocktails out on the back porch or whatever, I have some colorful plastic glassware that's tucked away in here too. So things I might not necessarily use every day, but they're pretty enough to display year round. So I love this piece. It's beautiful. Again, a black element in the home that just adds a little character. And then Ralph, this is his little station over here where he eats and drinks, as you can see. And then another thing I love that I brought into the kitchen is this runner. I had a different one in here before, Moroccan runner, that was a little too wide. And then this one, it just is a perfect combination of the marigold and fuchsia and mauve that you see throughout the home, but definitely in the kitchen. So it just adds a little warmth to your feet as you're making your coffee or cooking dinner. As far as colors go, when I was young, my favorite color as a child was lavender. I love all shades of purple. And I kind of abandoned it in, like, I guess my teenage years and early 20s, but then back in when I turned 30 again, I'm almost 40, but I just started to fall in love with it again. And not necessarily like Barney purple grape, or, you know, it's like mauve and lavender and blush and just different variations of it. So as soon as you walk in my home, you see a lot of that in the living room. I have like this Merlot color, moody, that's in the living room and wraps to the dining space. And then I have little touches of lavender and blush and mauve throughout. And I'd say another element that you see in my home is like this foundation of black. Black is a color I feel like should be in every space. I'm not so much the black and white furniture showroom sterile look, but I feel like black has a nice it's a good addition to any space because it kind of grounds it, and it gives it a nice contrast no matter what color you choose in a room. My personal style is, think of a Crayola box. I like to mix different colors. I like things to feel unexpected, but still all kind of flow together. Nothing too overwhelming. I'd say I'm more of a maximalist, but I'm a maximalist that likes things to make sense. I don't want it to feel too cluttered or over the top. Everything has a purpose. Everything's intentional. And as far as design style, in addition to loving color, texture, and pattern, I'd say I'm like mid-century modern meets glam. Just, you know, there's enough shiny things in the room to get you excited, but nothing so over the top that the home is not livable. So in my clients' design projects that I have, I have a lot of those elements, but in my home, I can really like go for it. There are no guardrails. And so I just want my home to look like me and feel good, feel safe. That's why it's my sanctuary. So now that you've seen my kitchen, let's go a little deeper into the house. The rear of the home is my mudroom, laundry space, and primary bedroom. As soon as you walk into my mudroom and laundry area, you are immediately greeted by this sun shining gold taupe, beautiful wallpaper. It's very graphic, it's very in your face, but it's nostalgic for me because my grandparents' home, both sets of grandparents, they had a very graphic wallpaper in their mudroom, in the laundry room, in the breakfast nook. And so usually it was like fruit or I don't know, something random, but I just love these suns. They just, I don't know, they just make me happy, just like the sunshine. And so I decided to go big or go home in this laundry space by bringing this wallpaper in. None of this was here before. I decided to, once I knew I was going to do a side-by-side washer dryer, I had this butcher block I purchased and then these cabinets, and I had them put in and painted them the same color as the green in the kitchen. Added some artwork, so I have ample space to fold clothes and avoid laundry up here on the surface. And then I have some storage below and then above, and then I can hang things as needed for when I'm drying laundry and so on. So there isn't a lot of art in this space compared to the rest of the house. I have a little art here, but what I decided was to make art out of these plans for the house that I found in the pantry when I moved in. They were left by I guess the contracting team, the builder. And so I thought, why not hold on to them, even though it's a brand new house. It's something that is dated and something that I felt like needed a spot in the home. So I framed them and they're here in the living room, laundry room. My previous career and schooling and experience has definitely played a role in the success of Blessed Little Bungalow. I think a lot of interior designers hate social media and they don't like the marketing aspect, getting in front of the camera, even maybe some of the writing and the press. And because I have schooling in journalism and have worked in marketing, it comes a little more natural to me. I think also it's important to know your brand, like know your niche, and just stay in your own lane. And I think coming into interior design, there was a lot of imposter syndrome because I'm just like, oh, well, I didn't go to school for this. And I'm just kind of figuring things out and designing to my own taste, but there's so much to learn and so much to explore. But because of that, I have been true to who I am and what lane I'm in interior design and decorating and styling. And I also just try to be as authentic and transparent as possible. Like there are so many talented interior designers out here, and I can only be me, right? I can only decorate and style and do things to my own taste and through my own perspective. And I think that attracts a lot of people to follow me and to see the transformations I do in my home and my clients' homes, because I do my best to make things feel approachable. And interior design should not just be, I mean, it is a luxury, but it shouldn't just be a luxury that's available to the few. It should be something that anyone can have in their home. And so you see that $8,000 sofa in someone's house on Instagram. Here's a $3,500 dupe that is just as comfortable, that you can afford, that's probably better for your budget. So I try to think those things through, and I think that a lot of people love that. And so I'm pulling things out of my old file cabinets every day to thrive as a business owner. Now that you've seen the laundry room and mudroom, let's see the rest of the rear of the house, which is my primary suite. So this is my primary suite bedroom. One thing that I love and find constant inspiration from are boutique hotels. And so, you know, nothing feels cookie cutter or too plain Jane. A lot of color, a lot of layered patterns and textures. This is not a very large bedroom to be a primary bedroom, but I wanted to make it feel cozy. I wanted it to feel just like a space that I could come into and immediately feel like I want to rest and close my eyes. And it's just a good space. And I think for it to be a quote unquote smaller bedroom, I didn't hesitate painting the walls a dark color because I wanted it to feel moody. I wanted it to feel like a place to truly wind down. But true to my own design style, I also wanted it to have some pops of color. So the ceiling was white and plain, and there was a ceiling fan, and I decided to wallpaper the ceiling after I painted the walls, and then also add a really cool funky chandelier that would add an element of glam to the space, but not be overbearing. And so the room just feels very good, and the bed, king size, takes up most of the space, but really all I do in here is rest. So I just needed enough room for my bed, and everything else, all the other elements were just supplementary. So the bed, I love the shape of it. I love how it just feels like ornate and Victorian, and I love the chartreuse color. I layered the bed with comfortable bedding. As you can see, this lumbar pillow matches the ceiling wallpaper, which is a fun touch. I told you about how my favorite color or shades of colors are purple. So there's a lot of elements of purple, from the juju hat to the linen blackout curtains, some of the artwork that's layered on the floor. This art piece has some gold leaf in it. And so there's just a little touches of glam and gold everywhere. But it's just a beautiful place to relax, and I love my bedroom a lot. I know I said the kitchen was my favorite room, but this might be the favorite. So my bathroom isn't as clean and perfect as the bedroom. However, it's functional. It's a great space. I carried the wallpaper from the ceiling into this wall. So this is a bit of an accent wall for the vanity. The the sink was already here, but I replaced the mirror with just one large one. Before there were two individual ones, and I felt like it made the space feel bigger, and I don't know, just a better touch with this brass mirror. These lights were already here, so I didn't change that, but I did paint the bathroom the same blue as well. And then as you walk in, you can see I have toilet space, walk-in shower, and then this is one of my closets, which I recently painted this It's called koi pond, this beautiful green. And this is where a lot of my casual clothes are. I'm a very casual girl with the baseball caps and Jordan sneakers and t-shirts and hoodies. But it's a pretty place to get ready. And I have another mirror in here. There's probably a mirror in every room of my house now that I think about it, even this closet. The thing I love most about my home is that no matter what's going on in the world, because the world can get very crazy and scary and discouraging and exhausting, I can come home and just feel safe. I feel relaxed, like immediately when I walk in the door, the weight is lifted off of my shoulders. I feel at peace. I feel like it is my own little sanctuary in Atlanta, Georgia, and in the world. I love how my home makes other people feel too. They walk in and they're just they're surprised, but they're also like, I guess there's just a lot of eye candy and the colors like make people happy, but doesn't overwhelm them. And so I love to host. I love to invite people over and have them stay with me. The other thing I love about my home is that it's not overwhelming in color and things and furniture, but it's also not very overwhelming in size. Like, I named my business Blessed Little Bungalow because I love bungalows. I love how small they are, but still have a lot of character. And so this house is probably only about 1,800 square feet. Max it with the loft. I think downstairs is just about 1,400 or 1,500, and it's just enough. It feels good, it feels comfortable, it's intimate, but there's still enough space for all the things I need to do in my home, people that visit and stay over. It just feels good, and that's the most important thing to me for my clients and for myself. Like, how does the space make you feel? Does it give you an emotional reaction? Do you feel more relaxed? Do you feel better about yourself? Does it make you smile? And so that is definitely how my home makes me feel. As a small business owner, I do work from home a great deal. So let's take a look at my home office. So my brother-in-law calls this the Pepto-Bismol room because it's like that Pepto-Bismol pink. And he walked in and he was just like, okay, wow, you took it there. But I love the color. I think it's very inspiring. Pink is one of my favorite colors. But there's no lack of anything to look at in here. So it's the smallest of all the bedrooms in the house. So I chose it for my home office. It also gets a lot of natural light in here. So it's a great place to actually work and feel inspired. I have a lot of artwork here on this wall around the closet. And then I put these shelves in to house everything I need for my business. So I've got paint samples, wallpaper, catalogs, tile, things along the bottom here. I've got more books, a lot of books from my previous careers, but also several design books that provide inspiration. My trademark for my business and logo, some of my accomplishments over here, magazines I've been in, and features I've gotten in the press. And then for functional purposes over here, I also have a lot of client post-its to kind of keep me organized and knowing what projects I have coming up, and things to keep me organized, along with different samples. So yeah, I come in here and I get inspired. Everything from looking at different rugs and matching them up to different paint colors. It's a place where I work and create. Right outside of my home office are the guest bedroom and bathroom. The In the bathroom, the purple tour continues. So I have like this fun plumish mauve lavender on the walls. One thing I love to do, because sometimes shower curtains just aren't as cute as regular curtains. So I have this curtain, and then I added a liner behind it, and then hung the curtain rod from the ceiling. So it just makes the small bathroom feel a little larger. And then adding some artwork, fresh flowers, and more gold elements like this mirror, and even this bath tray. It just makes it feel more warm and at home. This is my guest bedroom, aka the Crayola box of the house. I just wanted to go wild with the color in here. The first thing I did, because all of the walls were beige, was add this cool textured accent wall. I love the color teal. It's one of my favorite colors too. So we painted that, and then this bed is actually from my previous, I had a apartment in San Francisco. I love the bed, I love the channeling of it, and so I wanted to keep it in here because it's still neutral and low profile, but it looks great against this wall. Then we added some color and geometric shapes with this area rug. I have a lot of artwork throughout the house. So here's another gallery wall over this table. So like, for example, if I have a friend that comes over, stays for a week, and they need to work from home too, they can just pull out this ottoman and use this as a makeshift desk. They also have a little seating area over here. This lounge chair is super comfortable. So they have their own little living space, wardrobe areas to get ready and hang out. And it's just a place full of color and inspiration. And I think that when my guests come to visit, they are surprised but excited by the space, and again, that it has that boutique hotel feel that just feels comfortable and livable. The word home means love. It's a space that you know you are guaranteed to feel loved, you're guaranteed to feel safe, and I couldn't feel more comfortable in any place than the home that I've created here. I can go back to the home that I grew up in, even my grandparents' home that lived next door to me. And when you walk in, even if the contents of the home aren't even there, there's an immediate like reaction that you have, and so just that feeling of safety and love and purpose and belonging. Your home should make you feel that way, and that's what home means to me.
Hey Homeworthy, I'm Doug. Welcome to my home in historic Druid Hills in Atlanta, Georgia. Come on in.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. Before today's episode, click the join button below to support all of the storytelling we do on this channel. Our growing community of members help to directly fund more videos so we can capture these extraordinary homes from around the world. So join today to receive early and exclusive access to new Homeworthy videos.
Hi, my name is Doug Weiss, and I'm an interior designer. This is Zuzu the Cavalier, and you're at my home in Atlanta, Georgia. My husband and I lived in Inman Park, another area of the city, in another 100-plus-year-old house. And after getting a mountain house, we decided that it was time to make a little move here. So we did a search for this place, and kind of wanted to do a townhouse or condo or something like that. And I just didn't see anything that I liked. Everything was kind of too modern for my personal aesthetic. And we changed something in the search engine, and this place popped up. It's a 100-plus-year-old mansion that was divided into condos in the 90s, in 98 specifically. And in 1998, or it might have been 97, we were looking for a place to live. We saw this exact unit, and I remember saying to my husband, you know, we loved it. It really spoke to us. But I said, you know, I can't help but feel that it's for like an older couple. So 25 years down the road, we're an older couple now, and here we are. We've just been here about 2 years now. I love layering. It's a big part of my aesthetic. And I love antiques and modern art and a lot of things. So usually when I move in, and I do the same for my clients. There's usually a lot of layers, and I want it to look lived in and really comfortable, actually. So welcome to our sunroom. This is where you enter the house, and it's also the place that we hang out. It truly is our hangout room. We've got the TV here. Zuzu is more than comfortable here. This large sofa here, it's a 9-foot sofa. This is something I like to do, because people like sitting at chairs more than sofas. So I like to put these bolsters, which is sort of like an armrest, and it turns a sofa into a chair. You need a sofa in a room to ground the space, so there's not too many things going on. But it's sort of something that I do that it makes people feel more comfortable to sit in a sofa instead of a chair, because they usually gravitate towards the chair. So one thing that is really important to me when I'm designing a home is I want a lot of places for people to eat and drink, because that's what we do. When we get together, we eat and we drink. That's what we do. So, I mean, if we're doing a casual dinner, just my husband and I have these rattan trays that I bring in here. We watch, Netflix. We watch some fabulous show going on, and we sit in here and do that. So we love that. So one thing I want to mention about this room that's really important is the drapery fabric. It's by Jim Thompson, and it's called Central Park. And it is a depiction, an impressionistic depiction of Central Park, and I absolutely love it. I banded the bottom with a terracotta velvet, but this was the whole inspiration for the whole house. It all started here. The colors, the design, everything about it. I absolutely love this fabric. So it's sort of the starting point to the rest of the house. So this theme, Central Park. I mean, I lived in New York City. And everyone that's been to New York knows how important Central Park is to the city. It's literally essential to their life. But it's just so beautiful, but I love the impressionistic interpretation of it. There's water, there's sky, there's trees, there's flowers. And literally every color in this whole palette I absolutely love. There's terracottas, there's sort of some rosy that go into some sort of burnt burgundy colors, and the teals. So every room in the house actually has either and a shade of teal and terracotta, which all come from this. So it all sort of comes here and then moves on through the house. Okay, so our paint color here is Ferrum Ball Teresa's Green. It's one of I love Ferrum Ball, of course, but it is a beautiful color, and it's one of those colors. It's sort of a neutral. I mean, it's an aqua. It's sort of an earthy aqua, so it's not too bright, and it works with so many colors. It works with almost any color in the rainbow. So in this room, I added the bookcases are all new. Had those added to the room, and it adds to the comfort level of a space. But we had a lot of books and needed a place to put in them. The antique glass jars that are above the doors, the concept with that is we have these glass doors, and I love the feeling of glass continuing up, and it's monochromatic. It's sort of tone on tone with the colors. I suppose I should mention that when this mansion was built in 1910, this was an open air porch, I guess. And shortly thereafter, I think it was within 20 years, they glassed it in to use it as part of their house. But it's one of those rooms when you've got windows on 3 sides of you that's so beautiful, and it's springtime right now in Atlanta, and there's azaleas blooming, and it's so beautiful. But we love being in this space. because of everything it's basically that indoor-outdoor room. It actually is indoor, but it somewhat feels like you're outdoor, which is a really great thing. And so that combination of being the indoor-outdoor and the books and the TV, you know, we all live with our TVs. It's a big part of our lives. And so I like to make them as beautiful as possible and as comfortable as possible as well. So these beautiful doors are original. You see how thick they are. They're really heavy, and I can tell you how heavy they are because I actually ran into them one night, and I have a scar on my face. There may have been a couple glasses of wine happening before that, but that's another story. But yeah, they are solid, heavy doors, and they are original to the house. You'll see these big hinges, you know, it's part of the house. And I didn't want to take them out because I just love how it goes from one room to the next. You've got that window in there that if I want to close them and have privacy in here, you can still see through to the rest of the house. But they add great character, I think. So here's a charming little chair over here. This is called a slipper chair by Farrell Mittman. And this fabric, I am crazy about animal prints. They're another neutral. Like I told you, like I talked about the wall color being a neutral. To me, animal print is just a neutral, and they make it in so many different colors these days. This is a Countenance Tout, which is one of my favorite fabric lines. So it's just this charming little print. And again, coming off of the drapery fabric, we've got terracottas and teals. So I bring the terracotta in there that just kind of melds into the drapery. It doesn't make a huge statement, but it's a little bit distinctive. And then these teal colored silk chairs. This is also a Jim Thompson fabric that are monochromatic with the walls. I mean, of course they're a deeper tone, but I didn't want these chairs to jump out at you. And if they were in terracotta or some other color, they might be a little too much in the foreground. But as they are, they just they make a statement, but they blend in a little bit with the bookshelves. In the center of the room, so scale in design, to me, it's all scale is kind of the number one thing. You can mix colors and patterns and textures and everything, and eras. But if you get the scale wrong, then it's wrong, period. So with this 9-foot sofa, I needed a large cocktail table. It's really an ottoman. And this is an antique French piece that I bought a couple of years ago, actually shortly after we bought the house. And then I upholstered it in this dark teal leather. So again, it's tonal. It's tonal with the sofa, and then it's tonal with the chairs as well. So in this space, it not that it's tight. It's a fairly large room, but you don't want things to jump out all the time. There's certain things that you want to stand out and be a focal point, and others that you want to sort of meld in with the rest of the environment, which I think this does beautifully. And Zuzu's very happy with it too. So let's talk a little bit about lighting, which is incredibly important. In the evening, I like everything is on a dimmer. Every switch, whether it's in a closet, a bathroom, I don't care where it is, every switch is on a dimmer because I want to control the intensity of it. Our fixture up here in the ceiling is a Fortuny piece that we had made for the last house, and it's made in Italy, of course, and I remember it taking, 8-10 months to make, and that was many, many years ago. Something that you paid for, and I'm like, oh, maybe I'll see this. Maybe I will, and maybe I won't. Anyways, it came. I loved it and couldn't leave it in the last house. We ended up bringing it to this house. But I also like to switch it up. So there's some vintage, these are actually calendars. If you look closely on this lamp, it'll show you, it'll have the days and the months there, and you put your pegs in for whatever day or month it is. It's kind of crazy. We've never changed it, but I just like how they look. And then over here we've got a more modern, this is from Visual Comfort, a more modern piece. And again, when I turn these lights on, they're usually very dim. Also with lighting, if you look up in the bookshelves, you'll see candles spaced out. They're all symmetrically spaced. But they're all throughout the cabinetry, and they're timed. They're fake. They're the fake. They're real wax, but they're fake candles, of course. And so they come on. They come on at basically sunset, and so when we're in here watching a movie or something, there's this lovely little flickering light everywhere around you, and I just love that. Lighting is really important. So on the floor we have this travertine. It's called, this color is a walnut travertine. And it was put in when the mansion was converted into the separate condos in the 90s. And this color was very popular then. I remember doing walnut travertine in some of my clients' homes. And I have always loved it. And when we moved here, I love that it's here. I'll never change it. And it flows beautifully into the rest of the house with the original oak floors that were put in 1910. It just makes me happy. And I love how this floor just works with my personal palette. All right, now we're gonna move on to my living room. Please, come along. When I'm decorating a home, and my home in particular, there's always inspiration that starts. It's something, first it's got to start with the architecture, and the architecture of this home really, really speaks to me because there's a lot of history here, and I love the fact that I'm living in a place that many other people have lived in. But in terms of when I'm designing, it starts with inspiration, and beyond the architecture, there are certain pieces, and there's some drapery in my sunroom that was really the jumping point for the entire house, the whole color palette, and a lot of inspiration that I've done here. When we bought the house, there was a lot of renovation. I think we had about 8 months of renovation. I mean, we gutted all the bathrooms. We mostly gutted the kitchen. We didn't really gut the kitchen. We did a lot of work in the kitchen. And I touched every room, whether it was, sometimes it was just wallpapering or painting or something. But there's a lot of features that are original. I mean, we've got these doors in between, these pocket doors in between the living room and dining room that were original, and they're 8-foot mahogany doors, and they're absolutely beautiful, and I love them. But we've done some extensive work in the house, adding book shelving and renovation stuff. But at the same time, trying to keep elements that are really important and feel like it's historic, and make that really clear that it is an old home. So welcome to my living room, which is right off of the sunroom, which I had mentioned that it's Teresa's green from Farrow and Ball. So in this room, all of the trim is painted Teresa's green, and the walls are actually a wall covering, a grass cloth from Count & Tout that is the same color, so it's tone on tone. So I love that sort of easy transition from the sunroom to the living room, where you're not jolted into a different color. It's like a gradual progression through the house. And that happens in different rooms, and sometimes there's more of a pop, and that's always very intentional. But coming in here, I just wanted sort of an easy texture on the walls. So when you're in here, that texture is very subtle. Some grass cloths are really nubby, and which is great if you're doing like a library or a den or something that's really kind of earthy, and you want that warm sort of texture. That's great. But this is a more elegant room, so I wanted a very simple, subtle grass cloth. So this one, again, from Count & Tout, did a great job. And as you can see, I've got this is a salon hanging of paintings. I love doing these, and people will ask me, well, how do you start that? Like, what do you do? And it's basically, it has to start with what you love. Art is something that you have to love, you have to gravitate towards, and it's a language that sometimes takes a while to learn. Just like a spoken language, you have to look at it a lot to really understand what people are saying and what that painter is communicating to you. But anyways, when I'm putting together something like this, there can be several things. It can be theme, it could be color, it could be texture. What is it about that artwork that seems like it belongs together? And then you want to put it off a little bit. Like, I love symmetry, but then I love to put the symmetry off a little bit. So this is just a collection of artwork that in my last house they were all in various rooms, and now I had this wall that I wanted to create this salon hanging. So anyways, I think it looks great, and it adds a lot of color and texture, and I think that it makes people feel relaxed. rather than like a painting that's like formally hung. It's asymmetrical, and it doesn't make you feel like you're in a museum and you can't say anything or you shouldn't really talk about it. I think it invites people to actually have a discussion about what's going on with the artist or what's going on in those paintings. So all of this artwork is, they're pieces that my husband and I have been collecting for, I don't know, 25, 30 years. So there, most of them, some of the artists we know personally, and there's one antique piece, but it is a variety. Actually, most of the artists in the house, I usually have met them at some point, or am familiar with their work. So it's just something that you love to carry on. And when you move artwork around in your house, or from one house to the next, you see it in a different way. So I love moving the artwork around. Sometimes it doesn't work as well as others. Sometimes you can move smaller pieces, but larger ones are a little more difficult. But it gives them a new life, and you look at them differently. When we are entertaining, often if it's a small group, if it's just like 4 or 6 of us, we'll maybe have cocktails in here. We might be sitting at the sofa. Again, this is a sofa. It's a silk mohair that I had upholstered 20 plus years ago. And mohair is like an iron horse. It's always there. And the color is so neutral, it kind of lives everywhere. And then it's got this a silk ribbon on all of the cushions. It just gives it a little more punch, not too much, but just a little more punch. So we use this area a lot where we, as I say, for cocktails, we're drinking cocktails. We've got appetizers on the table. And then, as I talked about before, I love having different places for people to eat and drink. And I figured out that we've got really 5 places that we can eat and drink in the house, that we eat in the house. So this is another one. This center table here. This is an English William IV piece that I bought years ago, and I love this table. But it's a center table, which is it's fun because you can style it. I like to style it differently depending on different seasons. At Christmas time, I've got red berries going all over the place here, and greenery and everything. But also, this is a table we love to eat at. If we're doing 4 people, it's winter time. We turn on the fireplace, and then serve a setting for 4 here. I do collect china. I love china, and it's just fun to see how it looks in different areas of the house. So right now this table is set up. It's just a springtime setup. These are quince branches, which I adore. I mean, to me, branches with flowers or berries are probably my favorite flower to decorate with. There's just something so natural and easy and comfortable about them. So it's springtime now, so we have quince flowers up here. I just have a collection of marbles, a collection of vintage marbles, books. And in the evening, I like to put little votive candles everywhere because it's just charming little light that's coming up. I mean, again, with all the lighting that's in the space, this is a beautiful alabaster piece that I've had for many years. The lighting, I like it all to be subtle, and you need a lot of different sources. It needs to come up. You don't want a whole lot coming down on you, but most of it coming either to your face or up is usually the best lighting. So this right now, this is just set up for visually. We don't really use it like this. Although if it's a cocktail party, there would definitely be a platter of hors d'oeuvres standing out here. And then the fireplace. Again, this is an old mansion, and I do love age. I do love history. I love all of that stuff, but I do love pops of modernity. And these sconces, I just love how they just sort of make a different statement up there. I looked at several antique pieces that I was going to use up there, didn't like any of them, and then found these, and I really love how they feel in the house. And again, when you're changing, if everything in this place were antique, it would feel like a museum, and you would come in and feel like you couldn't touch anything. I want people to feel relaxed and welcome whenever they're here. So mixing that up just makes it feel really natural and easy. So let's talk about symmetry. Symmetry and balance is imperative in the design world. And to find that balance, the symmetrical balance, is crucial, but you don't want it to be too perfect. So when we moved in here, we have a window on one side of the fireplace and a wall on the other side. And that was the only thing that I thought, oh my gosh, what am I going to do there? We couldn't cut a window into that space because it is a condo. We can't touch the exterior of the building. And I thought, you know what I think is even going to be more interesting than another window is a mirror. So it helped, the balance has helped because you've got glass on both sides of the fireplace, which creates that symmetry, yet they're different. So, and even the size is different. They're hung at approximately the same height, but I made the mirror a little bit smaller than the window. I didn't want it to look like I was trying to copy exactly. And it actually makes it more interesting, because there's a reflection. So no matter where you are in coming through the space, you see a beautiful reflection of either the artwork on the opposite wall or what's in the cabinetry here. So it does create that balance, that symmetrical balance, but it's more interesting at the same time. And also, speaking of balance, another issue that I had, there was, this cabinet was here when we bought the place, and that was a blank wall over here. Now that made me crazy. That I needed to be exactly symmetrical. What you put in it can put the balance off a little bit and play with that, but I needed architecturally that balance to be on both walls. So it was really a pretty easy fix, and it made a big difference in the room. So the room feels balanced and symmetrical. When we bought it, I felt like you had to walk in the house that way. It was so crooked. But anyways, to me it sings now. It's all perfectly. It's not perfectly symmetrical. It's symmetrical, and it's balanced, but it's a little bit free feeling as well. So when conceiving a room, you look at the proportions and you look at the direction flow. How do people use a space? Where do they walk in and out of? And when you're in there, where do you want to be? And this is a pass-through room because you're going from the sunroom and then to the rest of the house, the dining room and kitchen and bedrooms beyond that. So you need to have thoroughfares. You need places where people can walk comfortably, which we do. Because we've got two doors over there, and then they balance with the pocket doors that go into the dining room. So then you work the seating arrangements around that. So the architecture told me what to do. I knew that there was going to be a pathway here. So here we can create a little seating area in this space, and it's not exactly symmetrical. I mean, yes, there's a sofa and there's two chairs and there's a table in the center and there's two tables opposite, but they're all different. Yet I think they're all linked and they work well together. The opposite side of the room, however, is much more symmetrical. I've got a pair of chairs with this gorgeous Lee Joffa velvet, printed velvet. And this is when the fireplace is going in the winter or the fall. It's such a lovely place to sit with a book, a little glass of wine, or maybe your chai tea latte in the morning. It's sort of perfect, and it still allows for this walkway going in front of you. There wasn't room on this side to do a table, nor did I want to, because I've got one over there. So again, talking about the balance and symmetry, you've got to have the balance, but it can't be exactly perfect. You've got to throw it off a little bit, so it makes the space just more interesting and more welcoming to everyone. So this chest here, this is an antique Scottish chest, and I have a few Scottish pieces. I love them because they're usually they were made for castles. Like they're big and sturdy, and they're a little bit on the chunky side. Sometimes when I'm working with clients, I want refined, beautiful lines that just sweep and flow. And sometimes I want, you know, a little more earthy, more masculine, chunky pieces, which this is of that genre. And I love this piece. It was in my foyer in the last house. And this painting up here is beautiful. It's by Thomas Darnell, and it's a very it looks like it's a misty morning on some Scottish hillside, and I just absolutely love it. I actually had that commissioned for the last house, and it just seemed like it fit perfectly in here. And these lamps, candlestick lamps, I love to do a pair of candlestick lamps. I don't recall where I got them, but I do love this sort of kind of cappuccino colored silk gauzy shade on them. And as we talk about lighting and artwork, their relationship is really important, of course. You want to light the art, but at the same time, I'll do it differently everywhere I am. I mean, so on the salon style wall, I've got, you know, the art, you know, the picture light up there, and then I've got cans that are kind of coming down on it. And then with this one, I've got lamps in front of it that some may say, well, you're hiding part of the artwork, and maybe you are, but this is not a museum. This is my home, and and the art lives with us. So it has to be my way of living my life, and then that is an incredibly important part of it, but it's got to work in the environment. So it's the whole story and how it goes together. Little things like this clamshell. We were at the beach many years ago, and I was like, oh, that's so pretty. I'm going to take that home. I'm going to buy that and take that home. And then I had it gilded, had the interior of the shell gilded. But it's just a little collection of shells that just, you know, it's a memory of the past. So let me tell you about these chairs that I love. I found them in an antique store probably, I'm going to say about 30 years ago. This is a klezmos style. Klezmos is really my very favorite style of chair. It refers to like this, the whole shape that you see, that sort of architectural shape. It's a Greek, ancient Greek chair. And this one has got a channel tufted back, and it's upholstered in a beautiful Nancy Corzine cut velvet that I absolutely love, and that it's discontinued. Now the chairs, I've reupholstered them a couple of times. The chair, they're when you sit, that you kind of sink a little bit too much in them, so I need to have them built up. But I don't want this fabric to go away because I still love it. So when we have a dinner party around here, Chris and I make sure we sit in these and the guests sit in other chairs. And what I'll do when we're dining at this table is we use these two chairs, and then we bring the two teal chairs that are in the sunroom, and they're opposite each other. So it's a little more haphazard, and which again adds to the relaxed kind of atmosphere when not everything is matching, and you know, it's a little more up in the air. And then, of course, the color palette on the table is going to reflect, you know, the chair colors that are going to be there as well. So rugs, of course, are another important element of interior design. And normally, you've got a big room. You want a nice big rug that grounds the space. And the size of the rug sort of dictates the scale of the room. So you've got a large room, you want a large rug, or if you've got a small room, then you really want as large a rug as you can do because it makes it look larger. I shook it up a little bit in this room, and I've got two runners in the living room. They're both antique. This one over here was in my foyer of the last house. This one was in a wine bar that we had in the last house. And I didn't have another place for them in this house, and I could have sold them and moved on to something different, got a big rug, but I love them so much. I love the way they work together, and I think they're really interesting. The way they work in the room, and also these floors are original to the home, and they are beautiful. I think they're absolutely beautiful, and I like in this room being able to see more of the floors. So I love that. So if we're having a dinner party and there may be several guests, we're in the living room and the sunroom, and then it's time for dinner. Sometimes I'm slaving away in there. Sometimes we've got a wonderful chef that might be doing something for us. But I want to transition into the dining room. But before we do that, I want to show you these beautiful original pocket doors, these 8-foot mahogany pocket doors on both sides, which I absolutely love. I love all of the detail to them, and I love that they still function. That's pretty cool. I'm inspired by what has been done in the past, which is why I love old homes. I always respect that. But even though it's original or original to the home, it doesn't mean that it's correct. Scale, the eye of scale has changed over the years. And, often in older homes, you'll see tiny little rooms, like in Victorian houses, you see a lot of tiny spaces. And I do prefer sort of a bolder, larger scale. And so I try to keep as many things as I can, but some things just weren't right to my eye, so I would change things as we went through the renovation. All right, let's proceed into the dining room now, which is just through these pocket mahogany doors. And it's a very large dining room. I think it's 28 feet long. It's a large space, which I absolutely love. When this home was built, the owners they didn't live in the kitchen. When we go in the kitchen, I'll talk a little bit about that. But they entertained a lot. And so the dining room was very, very important, and they lived a lot of their lives in here. So, and although we don't live as formally today as they did when this mansion was built, I like to kind of play with that formality a little bit, but also make it eased and relaxed, and when I'm welcoming people in. The way that we set it up, we have this, this is actually a period William IV mahogany table that I was lucky enough to find. I did quite a search for it. It expands to seat 12 people very comfortably, because we've got large chairs and they're very, very comfortable. So we seat 12 people along here, and then we can seat another 6 in the Bay Area. And I've got this set up right now. When we're, as I talked about before, having meals, I love having different places to eat. This is where we'll eat, and sometimes this is more casual than it is right now. But so this is set up for 4, and it feels perfect for 4 people. And I've installed these brass rails in the bottom, so you can stand on the rails to help get in the space. And I know it seems like, oh, that's kind of awkward if you're the person in there, but I guarantee you, when you sit in there, you're just embraced by the pillows. It's very, very comfortable, and you've got the best seat in the house because you're looking out through the various ways. But so I mentioned that I love China, and I've got lots of different sets, and I like to set things up differently. So right now we've got a combination of a lot of things. Part of it, the orange plates are, I think they're Bernardeau. That's part of our wedding china, and other pieces I've just collected over the years. But the china and the silver and the crystal, again, it's all mixed. I've got Baccarat and Riedel and modern glass. So we do love dining in this bay. It's so cozy. You're embraced by fabric everywhere you are. Again, I think I talked about my love of fabric, and I love it to be around me because it just feels so warm and comfortable and easy. And so you're in this environment, and I love to mix it up. So everything is from different manufacturers. These are just a Wedgwood plate that I started buying a while ago. These are Haviland, the brick colorway with the gold. That's part of our wedding china. We got married 10 years ago, and we're lucky enough to get a huge place setting for our wedding china. And then these little gold plates. This is Philippe de Soulier hand gilded little plates. The glasses. I mean, so this is Baccarat, And yes, I have a set of like white wine, red wine, water, all of that. I prefer to shake it up. So this time I've got the Baccarat with the, Riedel white wine and just a cobalt, just a simple cobalt glass with it. The silverware is also kind of shaken up. This is a beautiful, how you just have certain things you just love. I love these forks. For whatever reason, I love these forks. They're a sterling from London, and then I mix them with other patterns. So there's a few mixes of patterns going on. Again, it just makes the table a little bit more interesting to me. So the seating in here, the bench was existing, and then I had the brass fittings at the bottom placed in so that you could kind of stand on them and move in there, and also have a place to rest your foot when you're dining, because you don't want your feet dangling. Because it's not, this is like a counter height. These are counter height stools. So they were existing in here, and wonderfully, there's storage underneath them, so we use that as well. I have to take out all the cushions to get whatever is in there, but it works really well. But it's just a lovely place to dine. The fabrics, just like the china, the fabrics are from all different fabric houses, and I just love the combination of everything together. Window treatments for me are essential. I just had a meeting with a client the other day, and they're like, well, it's just this window over here. We don't need to do anything with that, do we? And I said, yes, we do. There's something about glass that I want to frame it. And if I'm up in the mountains and people have amazing views of the mountains and everything, they're like, I don't want to distract I don't want to take away from the view of the mountains or whatever with this curtain. And I said, what does it look like at night? And they say, it looks like nothing. It's a black hole. Exactly. You've got to have drapery that frame your view. You don't want it to be distracting, which, again, this is a beautiful Count and Tout embroidery, and it's tone on tone with the walls. The walls are faded terracotta by Farrow and Ball, and I love how this fabric, it adds, it's not too formal. I think it's sophisticated and it's traditional, but with the tone on tone feeling of it, I think it works beautifully with the walls. And then as you scan up, and the trim is painted the same color as the walls in a different finish. I also love this trim. I like the house itself. It's big and beefy, and the scale feels just right on. I just love it. So this is a dumbwaiter, an English piece that I bought from a wonderful antique store that I absolutely loved. This would have been styled, back in the day with china. All their tchotchkes and china would be here. And if I did that, it would be great because I could show I've got a lot of china, I could show it off here, but it gets a little grandma looking, and also just a little too precious. So I have this collection of orchids and ferns and different terracotta pots. There's another thing about, I love terracotta pots. It's in my color palette and it works everywhere in this house, but it's not too precious. They're all designed, there's different designs on all of them. There's a different look everywhere. This one's sort of more modern, which I think is cool. But these could be in beautiful porcelain, hand-painted porcelain, which would be beautiful, but again, just be like, oh, I'm not comfortable in your house. It's a little too formal. So it's terracotta. It's easy. Living in an old home, number one, it's usually about the ceiling height. Our ceilings are 11 feet, and then they go down to about 10 feet. And it gives just a wonderful atmosphere. There's something about ceiling height that makes such a difference. And if I'm working with a client that maybe they've got a ranch house or something that's shorter, the first thing I'll suggest is, what if we blow up the ceilings and vault the ceilings? It makes such a difference to have that volume up there. Our home being a part of what was an old mansion, the scale is very grand. our dining room seats, our table seats easily seats 12, and then we've got a bay area that seats another 6, and very comfortably, not tight. So I love spaces that just are airy and very generous in scale, and we're just very fortunate to have that here. So here we have another, this is a sideboard, another Scottish piece. And again, it's like big and beefy for the scale of this house. We had it in our last house too, which I absolutely love. And I love to shake this up a little differently. So this bottle here always lives here. This was, it says a Margot from, that my husband opened for a certain birthday that I had, but it's, if you can read the year of the bottle, you'll know how old I am, so maybe don't look at it. But anyways, it's a very special bottle, so it always lives here, no matter what I've got going on here. But I love this piece, it works. We've got alcohol in here, I've got silver in here, I've got a lot of things, candles in here, I've got a lot of things that work in here. And then above it is this artwork that really inspired the color theme of the room, and a lot of the room itself. Another thing, I love antique boxes. I've got this one is a tea caddy, but I've got different boxes all over the house that are antique. And then I mentioned my love of china. So I usually have china sitting around somewhere. This is a relatively new pattern by Janori that I really love. I think it's called Orient Italiano. But it's pretty cool. And I pair everything with these modern lucite lamps with a gilded shade. They're just kind of interesting and different. And again, that mix of antique, like, beautiful antique, and modern art, and, funky lamps. Just kind of interesting. So here's another big, chunky antique. Another English piece. It's an armoire that was originally designed to be in a bedroom, and in our last house it was in a bedroom, but now I've moved it into the living room, and it's not too neat in here right now, but I've got all my linens are in here, and they're hanging up over here, but I'm not going to show you that right now. So the chairs that are around the table, this is an ombre fabric. This is all one fabric, so it starts with this darker blue, and it fades up into the light blue. And if you see it around the table, you'll think that they're sort of a lighter blue chair, but that's sort of how it evolves. Artwork, I'm always looking like what feels like it works in a space. I don't want it to particularly match, but I want it to feel like it belongs in this environment. So, and again, it's like modern with the antique. It's just a little more interesting. The style of this chair is also a version of the Klezmos chair, which I absolutely love. And then coming around to here is our bar, and so my husband is actually a certified sommelier. That's not his job, but it's a hobby. He has a very gifted palate, and so cocktails and wine happen pretty regularly here. This piece of artwork we had commissioned in the last house. Don Davis is the artist, and it was actually, they created a TV show around the commission of this piece of art. It was a pilot for a show that never got picked up, but it was on commissioning artwork. And basically I had 3 artists that I chose, and I had them all come to my home and said, this is the space where I want the art. And I had already vetted the artists, so they're artists that I thought were really beautiful. I really loved their work. And so the camera started at my home. We talked about the space, like what I wanted. Then the cameras went to all of the artist studios, followed them, and then in the end we had the reveal at our house. And they revealed each piece, and we were having a cocktail party. There's probably 15, 20 people at the house. And they, one at a time, they would reveal the artwork. But what no one knew is that the artists were in the room. They were acting as camera operators or lighting people or whatever. And so because they wanted people to give their honest opinion of what they thought. Anyways, this was the winner, and we absolutely love it. It's rock, paper, scissors. So once again, here we've got another pair of lamps by a piece of artwork. Candlestick, these are antique silver candlesticks that were turned into lamps. And again, I just love lighting artwork differently. Sometimes it's from overhead. This at night you get just sort of pools of light. There's enough lighting that you see the painting, but you get pools there. And then coming over here, I've lit this one differently. This one is overhead. This is an overhead picture light. And this artist is Guillaume Rosario. These are like little lucite sort of like straws. I don't know how he does the work, but it's absolutely amazing, and I find it beautiful. And there's something about these purple calla lilies resting in that sort of teal background, framed by that makes me very happy. This is another antique that this is an American piece. It's not super valuable. It's something that the hardware makes a big statement. It's kind of fun. It doesn't work everywhere, but I think it's kind of cool. And again, antiques and modern art, just love the combination. So one of the big challenges with this room was finding a rug that was large enough. Unlike the living room, where I was really happy having two kind of runners in there that looked really interesting, I needed something to ground this room and be the statement. And I looked a lot, and I found something that I absolutely love. It's very subtle. It's these kind of sort of Tiffany blue, goes in between that robin's egg blue and really more of a French blue, with that sort of rosy terracotta color in it that just picks up the color of the walls so perfectly. So I found this rug. I paid way more than I thought that I would pay for a rug, but I loved it so much. It just when they brought it here, I was like, oh, it belongs in this space. So I didn't know about the authenticity of the rug. They sent me the letter after I paid for the rug, after I bought it. I absolutely loved it. And it was made the same year that the house was built, in 1910. I was like, that's so perfect. I love it. I love it. But it would have taken, it's a very, very fine weave. It would have taken probably 5 or 6 people a solid year to make only this rug. And I feel very fortunate to be able to live with it and enjoy it. I love it. I think about my past and how it's affected the trajectory of my future. I'm actually a retired ballet dancer and lived in New York City for many years. I went to school in Montreal, and I'm from Vancouver, Canada originally. And I discovered dance somewhat late in life for a dancer, but I was meant to be doing that. And I had an amazing career and toured Europe and Africa and everything kind of back in the day. And when it was time to retire, because it is a short career, I really didn't know what I was going to do. I loved beautiful things. I started when I was living in New York. I started going to design school, but it was really fashion design I was going to be going into. And I moved to Atlanta for dance specifically, and met a lot of wonderful people. And I met an interior designer, and I didn't know that you could do that for a living. I was just ignorant to that. And it just fascinated me. And I remember back in my life, I was that kid that changed my parents' living room around quite regularly. My bedroom, I changed it seasonally. So clearly I was sort of meant to do it. So I was just incredibly fortunate that I've had 2 careers in my life now that I could totally express myself, be who I am, and hopefully make other people's lives a little more wonderful and beautiful. Okay, so that is the dining room, and now we're going to go to the kitchen where some of the magic happens that comes into the dining room. Come on in. Okay, so here we are in our kitchen. So in 1910, when this house was built, the owners were hardly ever, at this level, were hardly ever in their kitchen. They had a staff that were in here. And so We were lucky enough, this was a large estate, and so the kitchen was a good size. Because often you go into a fairly large house, of a house that was built in the late 1800s into early 1900s, and the kitchens could be quite small. So we were lucky that this is a good size kitchen. It was refitted. The cabinetry was all refitted when they transitioned from the mansion to the condos. And so and it was very good quality cabinetry. So we kept a good deal of it. We painted, so this is another Pharaoh and Ball color. This is Bancha green. We kept the general layout. I mean, you know, like on either side of the range, I think there was drawers on one side and cabinets on the other, and I like to create symmetry whenever I can. So we did different things like that. But like countertops, backsplash, the hood, lighting, a lot of things were redone. So the countertops here are quartzite, and it's one of my favorite materials to work with. It's probably the hardest of all the stones. This one is called Taj Mahal. It's very popular. You see it quite a bit. And I don't like to usually select things that are used quite often, but it's so neutral. It's got the balance between warm and cool in terms of colors. So it works perfectly. These bar stools I had upholstered in this cravat fabric that's also a chenille, and it's textured and it's quilted, and it's got a crazy dragon on it, and I love them. It's really cool. So I'm standing at the sink, and these are in front of me, and it just makes me really happy. I just love it a lot. So as you're in the kitchen, this was the butler's pantry over here, and again, this was when we bought it. It had been stripped, and it was just pine wood. So a lot of people think, oh, if it's old wood, you want to see that wood. Not always. I mean, yeah, sometimes there's beautiful mahogany or walnut that's underneath it, and sometimes it's just pine, which pine is sort of the workhorse, but it's also a very soft wood, so it dents easily and so on. Anyways, this was all just exposed pine, which did nothing for me. So I painted most of it the same color as the cabinets, and then I had a lot of work done on the cabinets themselves. I mean, they had hinges that were door hinges on all of these doors. I mean, yes, they're heavy, but it wasn't too attractive. So the butler's pantry I really love because I love china and crystal and you know, all that lovely stuff. So we've got a lot of storage in here. I love like I had this drawer made for my silver. So this is it's all lined with felt, and there's layers underneath it. But it's a great silver holder. Originally, this part of this unit was up to this level, and it was just overbearing and ugly. So I had that cut down. These are the original doors, but I had them remake them. And then the walnut countertop is new, because again, it was pine and it was a mess. So we had that all ripped out and redid all of that. And then now this is where I house like all of my beautiful china and everything. I've got, this is Marie Dodge, who I absolutely adore. I mentioned my wedding china. This is Bernardo, and I've got several pieces of that, which I think is really beautiful. But again, it is about mixing them and playing with them. I've got antique, pressed glass plates and new things and old things, and combining all of them together is what really makes a dinner party, and it makes me excited to entertain. Like we'll be cooking, like figuring out what a menu's going to be, what a menu's going to look like. I try to make sure that it's not too labor intensive, because there's only so much you can do. I'm fortunate because my husband participates, and he does things as well. And of course, he takes care of all the wine and the drinks and everything. But I really love to set a table for dining. That's just one of my favorite things to do. What are the flowers going to be? Which china am I going to use? How am I going to swap it out? And then, of course, I'm always collecting. So there's always a new baby that I'm anxious to be putting on the table and working with. So the artwork we have here was was in the kitchen of our last house as well. Jennifer Crowley is the artist, and they're actually all politically based, which is interesting because I talked earlier about how art is a language, and you have to learn to speak different languages, and that's not the message that I get, because I actually hate politics. That's not the message that I get from them. I think they're playful and fun, and they're textural. I love the colors. They have an earthy quality to them. And so normally I wouldn't get 3 paintings from the same artist and hang them in the place together, but I just love them all together. I love their dialogue all together. I mean, you see there's rabbits in each one, and there's kind of megaphones in each one, which I guess talks to the politics or whatever it is. But again, it's not what I see. And I'm opposite when I'm at the sink in the kitchen. I look at these all the time, and they make me happy. They make me feel at home, and I love looking at them. And then I've got another antique box with them, an antique lamp this time. So again, playing with antiques and modern all together. We've had a lot of, both in this house and our last house, my husband and I entertain a lot. And coming from the world of the arts, I love to give back to the arts. So we've held dinners for the ballet and the opera and the museum in both of our houses, and we had a dinner here last year that was for 24 people, and it was, we had a couple of chefs here and wine from California and Oregon, and it's just a great joy to be able to share your home in that way. Sharing food and wine, as we love to do. It's kind of our favorite thing. When we bought the house, it was a little breakfast room. Well, we're not going to sit in, and even though I mentioned I like to have a lot of different places to sit and eat and drink, I just never envisioned that we would be eating in this little space. So I was like, oh, this is going to be the perfect wine cellar. Our last house, we had a wine cellar in the basement, so you had to go down the basement, and it was super cool. But this is like in our face all the time. So we had these iron and glass doors made, and it's temperature controlled, of course. Humidity is what's really important for wine. But we had this, so we had this room made. Now originally, this room would have been the servants' dining room. So this would be the space that the people that worked in the mansion, this was their space to be in. So looking at this wall here, these are some special bottles of wine, but it's the background that I want you to look at. If you'll notice, these are all sides and tops of wine crates when they're shipped. Ones that we had collected, and a few friends gave us some. There's some very, very, very special bottles represented in this wall here, and this is the one and only thing that I let my husband do on his own. I'm a little bit controlling when it comes to design, so I said, "This is your wall. I want you to place them all." So he placed. They were all laying on the floor in the dining room. He placed everything exactly the way that he wanted it. We measured it out, and they had to be cut, and cut for these pegs for the wine racks to go in. So the installer did an amazing job, and it was painstaking. It was really quite slow as long as it took him. But it makes for just great memories to look up on that wall. I talked about art, how it's, there's stories. A lot of times you'll know the artist, or you know something about the story, you know the history of the artist. It's the same with wine for us. We know a lot of the people that made the wine here. Yes, we've got a lot of California and Oregon. We love Burgundy wines, and we love Pinot Noir. But we've got a lot of different wines from really around the world, and that we've been collecting, and we know a lot of these winemakers, and we'll have evenings sitting in the cellar. We can get about 4 people in here. It's not really large. Well, we can get more than that. We could probably get about 6 or 8, really. But it's just an intimate environment to hang in, and it's very special. Yeah, we love it. So the way we use the cellar is, I mean, of course, its main purpose is cellaring the wine, holding it at the correct temperature. But we love to entertain in here. Now it'll start with, just a couple people are in here. There might be, people sort of rambling around the house. A few people gather in here, and then sort of like the door usually is closed because you want to keep the humidity level correct in here. And when you see someone in a room that the doors are closed, you want to go in there because it looks like you shouldn't go in there. So people end up coming in here, and because it's an intimate space, it just feels really, really special. So whether Chris is just opening a bottle and he's starting the evening in here, or throughout the end, or maybe after a dinner, we might end up in here and just hang out with our wine, and maybe at that point we're moving to champagne, or we're moving to something different. But again, it's just so nice to be in a different area, enjoying all of your house. I love to live in all of my house, be all over the place, and use it in different ways. So what makes a house a home? Well, number one is the people in it, that you love the people that you're with and your beautiful fur creatures, or maybe real children as well. But what makes a house a home to me is comfort. You want to feel at home yourself, and people that you're inviting in, you want to feel comfortable. So I like to, when we're entertaining, I like to have a sense of ease. I want people to feel comfortable and at ease. And when I'm choosing furniture, comfort is of the utmost. It's really, really important to me. Not only that, it looks comfortable, it looks inviting, it doesn't look stiff and formal, it looks inviting, but it actually feels comfortable too.
Hey, Homeworthy, I'm Melissa.
And I'm Palmer.
Welcome to our house in Atlanta, Georgia. Why don't you come inside and we'll show you around.
Hi, I'm Allison Kenworthy, the founder of Homeworthy, and we're now offering a membership plan that gives our supporters early and exclusive access to new videos.
Hi, Homeworthy.
I'm Roz. You're here at my home in Los Angeles.
Come on in, I can't wait to show you around.
With this membership, we invite you to open more doors, discovering new homes, rooms, and personalities available only to those with the keys to our guest house. You'll be part of a community of people who are just as passionate as you are about interior design. Before today's episode, click the join button below to support all of the storytelling we do on this channel. Our growing community of members help to directly fund more videos so we can capture these extraordinary homes from around the world. So join today to receive early and exclusive access to new Homeworthy videos. You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hi, I'm Melissa Arcaro,
And I'm Palmer Shallon.
and welcome to our Craftsman house in the west end of Atlanta, Georgia. Our house was built in the early 1900s, probably around 1920. For the most part, when we bought the house, it was pretty much in the condition that it was built. The floors are all original. There was some renovations that happened in the kitchen that sort of made it a little bit more modern, and that's where most of the work that Palmer put in, as far as just changing out some countertops and making cabinets. But beyond that, it's pretty much like original how it came.
We came here from Los Angeles 2 years ago, and with the intent to buy something, and we had narrowed it down to a couple between this house and one other house, and there's a local grocery store, like a little co-op around the corner called West End
Westview Corner Grocery
Westview
Store.
Corner Grocery.
Yeah.
And that cemented it. It's just a cute place. It's in walking distance.
Yeah,
with
pretty
the other
much
one.
when we saw the grocery store, I was like, that's the house. Not to say that the house isn't special, because it
Yes.
certainly is. They hadn't done as much renovations to it, so it was kind of nice. It was still like you could see the character. You could
Yeah.
see what the house actually was and what was it intended to be. The grocery store just sort of
Yeah.
sealed the deal.
We saw a lot of houses that had a lot of the original character on the outside, and then you walk inside and it was a gut renovation and it had no original character left. In LA, we lived in a warehouse that I converted, and it was like in an industrial area. To me, I like cozy spaces, and so I always want it to be calm and cozy. So I gravitate towards more warm tones and textural fabrics, and Melissa is the same in terms of texture and
Texture. I love pattern, love mixing things. But I think in this space in particular, it was kind of like it led us in a lot of ways. I mean, both of us like earth tones a lot. We love woods, but the space itself sort of was asking for some of it. Like it just made sense. So it is our personal style, but it's also what is the style of the house. Because in LA, our house was all metal, and so Palmer was welding all the furniture, and it was a totally different look, but it was also a big industrial warehouse, so woods wouldn't have really made as much sense. So I don't know, I think we're both kind of adaptable, and depending on the space is probably what is going to come out of it, whatever makes the most sense. Almost everything in the space, there's a story behind it. We've been together for 22 or 3 years, somewhere in there, and so we've collected a lot along the way. Had a lot of friends who are artists, worked on a lot of projects that have sort of brought different things into our lives. And then, of course, like Palmer builds the majority of the furniture, so we've talked about the wood or the fabric that's going to go into it. So everything's just really personal in the space. Welcome to our living room. This is a picture window seat that when we moved in was actually a lot smaller. And so one of the things we wanted to do was make it wider. So Palmer built it out a bit so you could sit on it a bit more comfortably. And then underneath, I like being warm as often as possible. So having like blankets within reach was important. So he built all this great storage space so that we can have blankets and then games, because we both love games and I love puzzles a lot. So he created that for us, and it's a really nice place to enjoy coffee or tea in the morning. Over here is a wood carving print that an artist I found at a gallery here. It's Kylan Art. His name's Todd Anderson, and he actually is out of South Carolina, but it's awesome, and his work spoke to me immediately when I saw it. So we thought it was such a nice piece to have like right when you walk in the door. It's really special. We have a couple more pieces in the dining room as well.
There's at a salvage yard I found, they had a bunch of oak handrail. When you first enter the house, you were seeing sort of the back of the furniture, and so I wanted it to be open. So with these motifs, I just used oak dowel rod to construct the sofa so that you see the upholstery through the back of the sofa when you walk in. And so the sofa, armchairs, and the coffee table were all done with the same oak handrail that I found.
The fabric we shopped together and kind of just wanted something that worked with the wood and the warmness that already existed in the space. And when we found this, we liked that it had a little bit of texture and more than just being like a flat orange, and thought it looked really nice with the wood. And all the pillows, this is a really cheap way to do pillows, because pillows are expensive, inserts are expensive, fabric can be too sometimes. But we shopped at like Goodwill, Salvation Army, thrift stores, and we get inserts and then basically take off the pillows. Sometimes we'll even save the zippers and then just make the covers ourselves. So sort of random fabrics thrown together, but it's just a cheap way if you want to have lots of pillows in your house and kind of elevate it a bit to do that. So the majority of the pillows I sewed in the house. That was my contribution.
Which is common with most homes here, is the They all come with fireplaces. Most of them are non-functional. They used to be, it was a gas fireplace, and it was just too much to get it operating again. So this is a Zellige tile, which is from Morocco. It's like a cement tile that has just naturally a lot of variance in color and thickness. So there's just a lot of sort of depth to the piece. So I tiled the piece, and then we've been together for 23, 22 years, but we've been married for 2 years. 3 years. That we got married during COVID, and we lived in a warehouse in downtown Los Angeles, and the back alleyway we turned into is where we got
made this like big sort of production, but it was just the two of us
and
our good friend Judge Craig Mitchell, who married us.
Yeah, there's a lot of garbage in downtown Los Angeles, so I had made this 12-foot tall puppet out of cardboard and old advertisements, that just garbage that I found around in Los Angeles. And so this is like a miniature version of the 12-foot tall puppet that I built that has just references to a lot of special things and that we loved about Los Angeles and California. Like this is the figure itself is based on Salvation Mountain in Salton Sea, which was an amazing artist named Leonard Knight built. It was a labor of love. And then there's the Griffith Observatory and
aspects of Bob Baker's Marionette Theater.
Yeah, the Bob Baker Marionette Theater, which was a really magical place in downtown Los Angeles that was torn down. They moved to a new location, but the original location, this is based around the marquee and the entryway. And then you have the Disney Concert Hall, which is just an iconic Los Angeles
And then
place.
We did like a collage of friends and family, and it was basically, this is a miniaturized version of our wedding in this kind of crappy like back alley in Los Angeles that we made really sort of magical and special.
When we got married, we didn't want rings or anything, and so we get this produce from a company called Imperfect Produce that it's all the stuff that they can't sell at stores, but on their boxes it says imperfect together. And so I just cut that out and I made a bands, one that said imperfect and the other one said together. And so those were our sort of wedding bands. Yeah. But someone stole it. Someone stole the bands from us. And so, and Imperfect wouldn't give us a box to do it. So I had to just cut out cardboard and paint it back in again. So
in our love altar, some of it means things because it's really special or personal, and some are just things like the hand. There's actually like quite a few hands around. There's one right at the entrance. There's some on our coffee table, on our dining room table. So hands just seem to play a lot of roles in our space, and even us, like rather than wedding rings, we tattooed each other's initials.
Our initials.
So
that's our business is
Sama.
PSAMA, Sama, Palmer Shell and
So
Melissa.
We just like hands a lot. This little piece is a piece from Almighty Op, which is a pretty cool puppeteer project out of Los Angeles. It's underground. It's so cool. And they were selling these, and I love them, and I love supporting them. So that just made sense for the love altar. This is a box that we actually got in Atlanta, and it's made out of matchsticks. And then they created a little design that said love, and it was just really neat. We both liked it a lot.
Yeah, there's little objects. There's a photo of our wedding. So then there's
you can see the puppet in the background.
And then to like go even like other layers. So then I make puppets too. So I created a puppet of Melissa and myself in our wedding outfits that are up here, and the judge.
So Palmer and I met, we were both studying film and television at SCAD, Savannah College of Art and Design in Savannah. I had been asked to work on a student project, and he told me that there was going to be this guy that was going to pick me up and take me to meet them at the location. And he never picked me up. And I called the guy I was working with and I said, hey, the ride never came. And apparently the ride was Palmer. You didn't say what happened.
I was intimidated by her.
That's what he says.
Yeah.
He says he was intimidated. So he saw me and he left me. And then I had to get another ride. But then when I did see him at the shoot, I immediately saw him and I was like, that's the coolest guy I've ever seen. And then, yeah, so then we ended up talking and yeah.
The books on our bookshelf, I can't say that we've read all of them. Both of us like being surrounded by books, and definitely some of them speak to what our interests are. So I love origami. So we have some origami books. Palmer is actually into tarot a bit, so there's some of that. And then a lot of it's just really good fiction, and we both are big readers. Definitely haven't read every book in the house. And the books we have bookshelves in numerous rooms, but we both like being surrounded by books.
Yeah, and this was another addition that I put in, is just because what was weird is like the fireplace is off center from where you would normally put it, so it was just this heavy weight over here. So I just created this sort of asymmetrical bookshelf so that it kind of pulled some of the space back through, that kind of balanced the room. When we moved in, it was like 12 inches deep. I don't know, so I made it deeper, and then we got this, it's like a subtle detail, but we have this anaglypta wallpaper that we put in the corner so that you just get a little bit of texture in this corner, but it's a nice little cozy spot to read a book. There's a lot, I mean, everything has a story in here, but so this was our dog Sane, Melissa's first dog ever. She was a carny dog, like literally traveled around with the carnival. We found out she was a hermaphrodite. She was, yeah, she moved around with us for years. She passed away maybe 8 or 9 years ago. We've hosted over the years in Los Angeles through Airbnb and two amazing organizations called Servas and Couchsurfing, where we've just had a lot of interesting people from around the world stay with us. And one of our guests drew this picture of Pip Pap.
This piece here is from a place in Los Angeles, and it's people who have developmental challenges. They give them all the supplies they need to create artwork, and then they make the artwork available to the public. And then this was a piece I got here in Atlanta, and it just basically says, "Cool chicks on break, 2 cool chicks." And they're on a smoke break. I loved it immediately. I thought it was so cool. It's on cardboard, actually. And then when I brought it home, Palmer built a frame for it, and it made it here. I don't think it's one of his favorite pieces, but I really liked it, so it found a home in our home. The peachiness that comes through sometimes, and I think when we were both picking out colors for this space, we were definitely leaning towards a lot of greens, but I kept being drawn to pinks. Palmer was trying to pull me back from that as much as he could, but sometimes it seeps in.
It's called Rare Sun by Benjamin Moore, I think, maybe Dunn Edwards.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a nice sort of neutral, warm tone, but yeah, it does have a sort of a peachy, depending on the light.
The beaded loom necklace is pretty awesome. This is an artist, his name's Keith Pearson, and he's a Native American artist. He's a Choctaw artist, actually, out of Oklahoma. And I met him when I was working on a production, and he was helping us with some artwork that we needed. And when I saw his work, I loved it. So I basically just said, I love a Joshua tree, and maybe we could have some sort of animal in there as well. So I did a horned toad, and it just kind of brings a little bit of Southern California into our space as well.
This was another, it was like, it's a piece I built. There's nothing too special, but I just used half round dowels, just so it was a textural piece and a place to hold a lamp. Yeah.
But it was nice too, because the way he built it, you're coming from the entrance, and so by cutting the corners, it sort of gives it a little bit more of a flow coming in, so that you're not running into anything or it's sort of impeding the way. So I really like that he did that when he was building it. And this piece is by another awesome Choctaw artist. I think he's one of the only people that actually does traditional Choctaw pottery, like sourcing the clay himself, digging a hole where the clay is, or the pieces are actually baking. It's really cool. I even got the opportunity to go visit him in Oklahoma and see his studio. But we were able to rent a lot of his work for a production I was on. I was able to have this piece, which Palmer built a little stand for it because it's so special that it deserves its
needed
moment.
to be elevated. Yeah.
And then we have another piece we'll show you in the dining room that is his that I really, really love as well.
So then moving from the living room into the dining room, it was a large, originally double doorway. Because it is so open between the dining room and living room, Melissa wanted something sort of special to pass through. And so this is a piece that I've done that is using the tramp art style. And when you're entering it, I carved in the words "we are" as just a reminder to internalize. And on the opposite side is "we feel," so to externalize. And then we have my astrological sign, and I'm a fire sign ruled by Mars. And then on the back side I have Melissa's astrological sign with she's a water sign ruled by the moon. The archway to the table was there's a thing called tramp art, and they would take old cigar boxes and they would break the cigar boxes into small pieces, and with a knife you carve notches over and over again, and then you layer up to build a lot of times jewelry boxes or picture frames, small objects. And I had been doing that for the dining room, the passage from the living room to the dining room. That was the biggest piece I've ever done, and that was, I mean, it's thousands and thousands of little notches in the wood. My favorite furniture piece that I built was probably our dining table. I like cork quite a bit, and I had done, we had, the dining room is a formal space. Sometimes it can be the formality of it makes it, people don't end up using it. So I like low furniture to begin with, and so the dining table is particularly low, and it's wide, and it just feels more casual. But I think that's my favorite piece that I've done in the house. So that takes us into the dining room, which it's a large space, and so I built the table scaled to the size of the room and also to the sort of dimensions of the room itself, which I had done with cork flooring. That I got two different color of cork that I cut into just little these diamond shapes here, and then I tiled the pattern on the table itself. And then because it's so gigantic, when you're sharing a meal it was difficult, so I built a giant Lazy Susan for the center of the table as well. And then all the chairs sit low to the ground, so you can sit cross-legged. They're extra wide.
We had the chairs, picked out the fabric, Palmer built them, and then we realized we just wanted something more to kind of break it up a bit. So we found this fabric. I made the pillow covers for it and then put it there, and it just helped kind of bring a little bit more texture and something else to the space, and also help tie in the rug. Neither one of us are drawn a lot to black and whites, but and these are a little bit more black and neutral, I guess, but it seemed to work here, and so it was kind of fun mixing that up. And if you don't know how to make pillow covers, it's YouTube. It's so easy, and it's like such a money saver if you want to save a little bit. It helps a lot. And then on the table, we kind of talked about what we should put on it. I really wanted a bonsai, but inside it's not going to work. So Palmer kind of just put together this little moss covered rock dish, just kind of nice. And then this is another one of my friend Edmund Perkins' pieces, which is a traditional Choctaw style. It's a bat bowl, and the same thing. He sources the clay himself and is working in this traditional art form. It's really beautiful. The fact that he's still preserving this is just awesome, and it's got great detail. And so we really liked the idea of getting to put it here in a space where sort of sharing and talking and having fun, hopefully. This was, people ask all the time, like, Palmer, did you make that hand?
No,
he didn't.
I feel like I need to make one. Yeah. We get asked it all the time.
Yeah, but no, that was just a find, and Yeah, I think in the tiny house we're building, it's seems to be that we're finding a lot of feet, so maybe that's going to be what happens there. It'll figure itself out, I guess, along the way.
The wallpaper is from a company called Mind the Gap. I believe they're out of Transylvania.
I think it is. It's Transylvania, and they've got really fun designs.
Yeah.
So much fun wallpaper.
Yeah. And in here, we just wanted it to be like sort of grounded and natural. So it's this fun sort of forest scene. This was original detailing within the dining room. I cut out the trim work, wallpapered, and then put in new trim to cap it. And then we took the green that we pulled from this onto the ceiling, and then I went ahead and painted the walls and the ceiling as well to kind of make the space feel sort of cozier. And then because we're so close to our neighbors, looking out the windows was not really a pleasant thing. And so I put up this shoji window film and then built these grates out of oak. And then at nighttime, I have lights on the back side of the window, so it just they light up with a warm glow in the evening.
Yeah, it almost looks like if there was like a red moon rising or setting.
Yes.
Because the way he has it set up, it sort of has a movement to it, and it's just kind of cool.
It's a little dramatic, but there's
it.
drama in this room, so I just lean into it. And then the last is the sconces. There's an amazing woman named Jamie that she owns the Sound Bath Center in Los Angeles. Just incredible, her and her partner Robert. And I had learned how to play gongs and crystal bowls from her. And I had done work on her studio. And so with these sconces, I just had just some small wind gongs that kind of capture the light and reflect it outward.
And we shopped and shopped and shopped when we were talking about, we knew we wanted sconces on either side, and we could not find any sconces that either of us could agree on. And so was it you came up with the gong idea, didn't you?
Yeah.
He came up with the gong idea.
Oh, these we got from Etsy.
And that was another one. We struggled with the lights in this.
Yeah,
room.
this one was a hard one.
We just couldn't seem to find the thing that we thought would work. But when we finally saw these and we liked that it was different shapes, it worked. But more than anything, it's detail is so important. And rather than just having a cord, Palmer found this great sort of, it's not vintage, but it has a vintage look to it.
I had to custom make a canopy for the wiring of it, but yeah, it's lamp chain. There's so little option. It's just like a couple of things, and they're always so boring. And that was one that I found that had some character to it.
We also wanted to have sort of two mirroring pieces of artwork, and because I really fell in love with Todd Anderson's work, we went back to Kylan Art Gallery and saw these two and really, really liked them. Some of his work, like the one in the living room, doesn't have as much color, but these did, and we thought it would look really great in here. And then down here we had this little corner, and so Palmer built a cabinet space, and just for when we're having friends over or we're cooking in the kitchen, we have music we can listen to. And then also there's more hands right here.
These are from the puppet, the original puppet.
These are the puppet hands from our wedding, which has same thing, the handmade, their tattoos on them. And so it's what's left of the puppet. The puppet's no longer, but the hands still exist. So I would say when we host, it's definitely a joint affair. I am more of the person that wants to cook and get involved with the menu. Palmer is super interested in lighting. Every light in this house pretty much has a dimmer switch on it. So at all moments, he likes light to be in a certain way. So he's in charge of lighting. He's definitely in charge of music. And then also scents. We like to burn a lot of frankincense here. And we like when people to come in to sort of have all of those senses brought in, so it makes it a little bit exciting and fun. And food-wise, we're both vegan, and I love cooking all kinds of food. I love Indian food, Thai food, everything. So yeah, I pretty much like to kind of cook up a big storm, have some really good drinks, maybe a cocktail with mezcal in it. Sometimes we mix kombucha in it as well, as one of our favorites. That's pretty much the kind of parties we like to throw.
Kombucha, mezcal, and a little bit of Topo Chico.
Yeah,
it's good.
It's perfect.
Yeah.
Working with Palmer is awesome. We get along really well. We enjoy getting to be creative together. It really works pretty great. He's super easy to be around, and I just trust him so much when it comes to design. So for me, I really love it. I really enjoy getting to work with him. He comes in and I think he really like has the vision for what the design is, and then more so like the detail stuff is where I come in. And I love shopping fabric. I love shopping art. And so we kind of just fall into place as far as like where our strengths are. He takes the lead, and for good reason, I think.
So this is our kitchen. This was probably the room that had the biggest transition. It was quite different when we moved in.
Yeah, it was like white quartz, white cabinets, white everything.
Yeah.
It was, and it's just not anything that we're interested in. Yeah, so I demoed all of the countertops and just did this walnut butcher block, which just has, it's a Craftsman home. It's just warm woods is what it needed. And then I rebuilt, I kept all the original, the cabinets that they had put in place, but I just refaced the fronts with just pine and rattan that I stretched on the upper cabinets, and then just regular cabinet fronts in here. The white is not white, it's new white by Farrow and Ball, which just has just a warmer tone to it. So I did that on the wainscoting. So I added wainscoting throughout the space, and then covered up there was some white subway tile in here. And then it came with which people thought, it came with a new stove, like a stainless steel stove, and everyone thought we were crazy, but we got rid of it and got this vintage avocado stove.
But it works great.
It works awesome.
And we thought it made a little bit more sense here.
Yeah.
This was something that we've had for years, and I love it, and I love it being over where I cook, but it says the diet starts tomorrow. It's kind of silly, but it's fun to have in the kitchen, and it's kind of just moved space to space to space with us. These are Etsy pot holders that you can get that are made out of mudcloth. Then beyond that, Palmer put up a magnetic knife board, so it just kind of is convenient. So this was when we first moved in. This was just a whole wall, and then Palmer added the wainscot so that it would help just break it up, bring in texture, rather than just feeling like this expanse.
Yeah, so part of the charm of older buildings is all of the extra detailing that is put in. So because it's so tied into the dining room with all of the paneling, I just wanted to carry the line across into this space and kind of just make it cozier, I think, which wainscoting does.
This piece of art was also an artist that I got to meet while I was working on a project. His name's Bahi Whitethorn. He actually passed away this last year, but he's a Native American artist. His work is gorgeous, and this was actually a piece he had done years ago that I purchased, but I just thought it was really cool. So the stained glass windows, before we had windows here that just kind of saw next door, which it's not really the, most attractive sight. So we talked about, what do we do? Should we do drapery? And instead, I was working with this stained glass artist. His name's John Yukas, and he was local to Atlanta. So I talked to him and I told him what we had, and together, Palmer and him came up with this design, and it mimicked the rug a bit that we have here. And John put it together. Palmer built the frame and then put it up, and it sort of is a really nice block, and also nicer than having maybe fabric there that can get kind of grubby when you're washing dishes. But it turned out kind kind of fun. And John is a lot of fun to work with.
And when we first moved to LA, we moved into a garage that I converted into a living space. And in the house where we were living was this guy Thayer, who was just a brilliant creative mind. And he would just find all these, he would go to like flea markets and find just random things. And he just would make these creations just compulsively, and he would never sell them. And finally, when we were leaving, I talked him into selling me this one. So it's a coffee grinder that I used as a coffee grinder for a number of years. You could pull the grinds out and dump it in. I think I'm a better cook. She likes to cook more than I
like
do.
to cook, but Palmer happens to be a better chef. But I definitely enjoy cooking. I love spending time in the kitchen. I find it super meditative and relaxing. I like listening to music in here or talk shows, whatever. But yeah, Palmer's better cook.
But mine end up being one pot meals.
Yeah,
Nothing,
I like to use every pot in the house.
several times over.
And as many things, as complicated as it can be. That's how I like to sort of approach the cooking. So this is our guest bedroom. Not really a lot of custom stuff in here, pieces. This was kind of the last room, and actually when Palmer was building everything, he didn't have a workshop, and so this room was the workshop, and so it was the last room to get any attention. And so everything here is actually things we purchased besides the floating bookshelves, which kind of mimic the ones in the living room. He built those. This piece over here is actually a print, but they have originals you can get. It's from these Ghanaian artists who make movie posters, and sometimes the artist has actually never seen the movie, so the poster barely relates to it. And instead of having, which we have here, we'll have just a movie poster that the studio puts out. These artists are actually the ones making the posters, and then they'll be there sort of to promote the film. You can buy vintage ones as well, but they do have prints, and the prints are affordable. They're cheap and just kind of cool. This corner over here as well was somewhere we thought maybe it might be nice to have a seating area. So this is just a knockoff Ames chair that we found used on Facebook Marketplace. Found this awesome vintage pendant lamp that I love that was actually in our office, but we switched it over because we thought it made a little bit more sense here.
The bed was a bedspread from a Indian company that on Etsy, and they're both, the bedspread in this room and in the primary bedroom are both from the same company.
And it's like hand block print bedspread over fabric, so you can see there's a lot of imperfection in it. Yeah, it's sort of all over it. It's not just this clean sort of manufactured look because it is handmade.
The tapestry above the bed was an Etsy purchase. There was, and I don't recall the name of the artist, they were selling 2 of their pieces. We didn't have an exact place. Initially we thought it would go in the primary bedroom, but it just seemed, it worked so well in this space.
And because there's so much wall space just throughout the house, and you're getting art, and it's just art, sort of just that we wanted to mix it up where we could so that it wasn't just paintings or drawings or prints. And so Palmer, when he found this, we were pretty happy.
Yeah.
The shelves are kind of jam-packed with all kinds of stories. Definitely like the things that, I don't know, bring joy in life. One of the things both Palmer and I do is distance running. You end up getting lots of medals if you run a lot of races, but I've condensed it to my favorite medals that I've saved. This one in particular is like a piece from the Los Angeles riverbed, and the running group that I run with, Skid Row Running Club, we do a race every year where we run the length of the Los Angeles River. And so Palmer actually made these and was able to source portion of the medal. So even though there's these medals you get that everybody gets one and they buy it from a company, these handmade medals I love. I think they're just pretty cool. Palmer carved these bookends, so he did some wood carvings and made special bookends for the shelf. And this piece here, it's called Dorodango, which is a Japanese art form where you take mud or dirt and you form it into a ball and you work it until the ball actually like almost becomes, and all it is dirt and water. It becomes like a mirror. It's beautiful. This is my first attempt at Dorodango, which I think some people would think is not really worth celebrating, because you can see it's not like the sort of perfection that Dorodango should be. But I love that it was my first attempt, and so we saved it. And the dirt itself is from Bob Baker's Marionette Theater in Los Angeles, the original one that's no longer. So we went and sourced dirt there. All right, let's head down the hallway and we can see the primary bedroom.
So in the hallway, we tried to do the same thing of bringing textural elements into the space rather than it just being art everywhere. And so I just went on eBay. They were all from different people on eBay. You can tell that a lot of people were working with patterns, but then you just get such variance through the individual hands. So it's just like, I don't know, to me it's a special, and owls are special animals. I think this one is my favorite. The symmetry that they achieved with the knots here is just, I think that one, when I saw that one, I was like, oh, I have to get that one. Again, living in downtown Los Angeles is full of garbage, and so I would walk through the neighborhood and I would pick up pieces of garbage that I found, and I would make sort of these collages of the pieces, which have like, I pulled the glass out of this one, so they have like a textural element to it, and I do sort of graphite rubbings over top of it. So, and I like the fact that it's something that is discarded in an attempt to take what is looked over and make it into something hopefully beautiful. To me, I think what makes a space come alive or gives it a soul is the details. I think it needs that additional layer.
Call it like the life layer.
Exactly.
The life layer comes in and sort of like...
Yeah. It feels like people are moving away from minimalism to begin with. The Marie Kondo kind of mentality is like that if it doesn't give you joy, get rid of it. But I think like at the end, there should be a lot of objects around you then, it shouldn't be an empty space.
And just going with what feels right and maybe not getting too caught up in sort of what you see out there. Like I love it when I walk into a space and pictures are hung maybe higher, or things are just a little off or different, or I haven't seen it. I always think that's really neat, and somebody hasn't really overly thought it out, and it just feels sort of natural and strange and just who they are. I always appreciate that. Well, what inspires me is getting to know people a little bit better. I love that part of the design process because, like I said, for me it's like more storytelling. I love that sort of like diving deep with people and getting a better understanding of who they are, and then sort of like working with elements to see what makes sense.
Welcome to our primary bedroom.
So this is by far the most minimal space we've ever done. I had found these great panels. They're made out of bamboo fiber, and they come in sections. There were two different patterns that were like, one has this sort of more rigid human thing, and on the opposite side of the room is a more natural pattern like the flower of life, and the sort of things that more nature and maybe a more stereotypically feminine energy and a more stereotypically masculine energy, and to just have a balance in the middle of the bed, being in the balance in the middle of the room. NASA and Benjamin Moore paired up together, and they found out the average color of the light from the visible universe, and it's this color. It's called cosmic latte. It's a ivory tower on the Benjamin Moore chip, but they call it cosmic latte, and it's a warm white that just feels nice. Maybe it's all in my head because of this story, but I buy it. Yeah, and then beyond that, I built the bed, which is another one I used paint grade shelving material, which is generally it's all the leftover scrap when they're cutting down boards. And so it's all sort of what is considered to be ugly and to be painted over. It just has a lot of character.
And something Palmer's really good at when he's building things is making things kind of functional and convenient, which I love. And so on the beds, he has light switches that control the light above, so you don't have to get out of bed, which is really nice. And then little individual lights on either side, reading lights, along with being able to obviously like plug in your phone or your laptop. The drapes was, it was fabric we shopped locally in Atlanta, and then we worked with a woman who sewed the drapes for us. The pole itself, surprisingly, double rods with a
like a decorative wood cover.
Yeah, it's really expensive, and we were looking into them, and we didn't want to pay it. So Palmer actually built those, and it's such a, it's not that exciting, but man, I was so happy that he was able to do that because it saved us a lot of money.
With the primary bathroom, because you are seeing it from the bedroom, I wanted to build a vanity that just had some interest, that you weren't just looking at the side of a piece of wood. I built a plywood frame for it, and then used penny tile to tile sort of a waterfall on this side, so you just get it when you're coming in the space.
So in the primary bathroom, we were thinking of different things to put on the walls. I am a button collector and have been for a long time, for decades. Palmer built this button board, which is it's a cork backing, but he actually created an image on AI and then put it onto the back of it. And then I just utilize it for my buttons. And just kind of brings a little element of fun, I think, into it. And also, if you're a button collector, you're probably collecting buttons from all over. So there's lots of good memories here.
The bathroom had a shower, and when we got it, it had another thing that people probably think we're crazy. I took the glass door out and then put up a rod. I just like, you don't have to see it. It's way easier to clean.
And it just gives an added opportunity for more texture,
color,
and something else in the space
rather
than just sort of glass. Yeah, up here is just a little piece of artwork that we put, which is actually those hand-carved puppets that Palmer made of us. And he had a little picture of it, and so that's us in puppet form.
Yeah. And while this is the primary bedroom, this room is for our guests, so that's why there's not a lot of personal things here. We went to Jordan years ago. We were driving in this nature preserve down to this place where we were camping. Got these blurry shots of her bouncing around in the back of the thing, and I love them.
Yeah, that was one of the ones maybe we didn't agree upon, but just because I was like, why is it just a picture of me? I feel like it should be a picture of both of us. People are going to stay here and think I put pictures of myself up, but I know he likes it, so he left it.
We lived in Portland, Oregon, and there was, I don't know if there's a thing called the Gathering of the Juggalos. It's a band called the Insane Clown Posse, and they have these very devoted fans called Juggalos, and they paint their faces like clowns. Fago is like a big soda in the Juggalo community, and this Portland artist had done these series of sort of formal portraits of Juggalos, and I got these for Melissa's birthday one year.
But just on the record,
we are non-Juggalos.
Not Juggalos.
We've never been to the Gathering.
Never been to the Gathering. Just really like the subculture. So this is our front porch. Palmer built all the furniture that came in here, and then we just shopped a lot of different fabrics and wanted to mix and match and get sort of upholstered cushions and some fun pillows and just a nice spot to hang out. And sort of the house is up a little bit, so it's really nice. You can kind of just see the street, and it's a nice place to have a drink or eat a meal.
So the sort of design motif on the back of these very heavy chairs is just the same material I used for the railing itself. So it just kind of picks up all along the edge. And then these lights I built just out of cedar that are just nice warm lanterns for the evening.
And sort of just mimic as well the same sort of patterns behind the chair, so it all sort of ties together. This stands up pretty well in the weather. It was another just like wall that sort of just felt like it needed something.
It's tough. It's like it's Georgia, and so the summertime can be a little gross. We have a nice ceiling fan, but the mosquitoes can get pretty rough.
Yeah.
So, and right now it's for coming from California, it's chilly for us.
But yeah, when the weather is nice, we love getting to enjoy time out here. It's really nice.
Melissa wanted like a really special entrance.
Yeah.
So
I do love the front door too.
Yeah.
That's a great piece because it's like the first thing people see when they come into your space, and you want people to feel welcomed and warm and like you belong here. And so we went back and forth talking about like what this door should be, and then when Palmer decided to do hand notched, it was tramp art style. It turned out really cool.
and so this was another tramp art piece I did. My dad was in town. I roped him into helping cut the notches. The door knocker was we found when we were in Jordan.
And we've been holding on to it
for years
and sort of just waiting for the right time to utilize it. And so, it was really cool once Palmer made this. It just was the perfect place to put something special.
Yeah, and then on the bottom, first I have the two hobo symbols. This means this is the place. This little symbol means you can camp here. And then the two are two giant sequoia trees. This one's Melissa, this one's me. That I did a photo Xerox transfer onto the wood and then carved out some of the relief, but some of the detailing of the image is from the photo transfer that I did. And then lastly, it's just our initials I carved into the door. Home to me means comfort.
Yeah, a place that you don't really want to leave,
Yeah.
that's cozy, that you want people to come to you, kind of a thing. A safe space, for sure. Blankets within arm's reach. Really cozy. And
Thanks for watching. Go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content and shopping guides.